The Galactic Council Hall was filled with laughter. High-ranking alien leaders from every major species sat in their floating seats, their holographic projections blinking with amusement. The topic of discussion: Earth. An alien with a long, scaled face and golden robes waved his clawed hand. He was Lord Vexen, the supreme speaker of the council. His species, the Zalkar, had ruled over dozens of worlds for centuries. Humans? Vexen chuckled, his voice echoing in the great hall. They still use projectile weapons in space battles. Can you believe it? They are nothing but primitive barbarians. The laughter grew louder. A blue-skinned, tentacle-faced diplomat from the Varrock's dominion nodded. I heard they still use chemical-based propulsion for most of their ships. How pathetic. An insectoid alien from the hive cluster clicked its mandibles in amusement. I studied their history. They fight each other more than their enemies. How can such a divided race survive in the stars? The council was convinced. Earth was weak, primitive, and unworthy of being part of the great galactic civilization. Some even suggested that the humans should be placed under protective rule, a polite way of saying conquered and controlled. But deep inside the council hall, sitting in the shadows, one alien did not laugh. General Cathar of the Xilari Empire sat quietly, his red eyes locked on a holographic display of Earth. He had read every human war record. He had watched every battle. And something deeply unsettled him. The broadcast that changed everything. As the meeting continued, a new message arrived. It was a transmission from a human ambassador. The council groaned. Another foolish attempt by humans to prove their importance. The hologram flickered to life, and a human stood there, dressed in a simple uniform. His name was Ambassador Richard Hale. His face was calm, but his eyes held something cold. "You mock us," he said, his voice steady. "You think we are weak. You believe that because we lack the technology of the older races, we are easy to defeat." A few aliens snickered. Vexen smirked. "Yes, we do." Ambassador Hale tilted his head slightly. "Then why haven't you attacked us yet?" The council fell silent. Hale continued. "Let me tell you something about humans. We do not seek war. We do not crave power like the Zalkar. We do not consume worlds like the Hive. We do not enslave weaker species like the Varrocks. We are patient. We watch. We learn." His voice dropped lower. "But when war comes to us, we do not break. We do not kneel. We adapt. And when we strike back, we do not stop." A few aliens shifted uncomfortably. "You think we are weak," Hale said. "That is your first mistake. And if you ever make the second mistake, if you ever test us, you will learn what true strength is." The transmission ended. For a moment, the council was silent. Then, Lord Vexen laughed. "Empty words," he sneered. "Humans bluff because they know they are doomed." The other aliens laughed with him, all except General Cathar. He stared at the dark screen where the human had stood. Something about Hale's words sent a chill through him, and deep inside his warrior's instincts, a warning whispered. The humans were not bluffing. The Galactic Council had dismissed the human ambassador's words as empty threats, but not everyone in the galaxy was laughing anymore. Some empires saw the humans as an annoyance, a primitive race that needed to be crushed before they caused trouble. One such empire was the Drakir Dominion, a powerful warrior race known for their brutal conquests. Their leader, Overlord Strack, watched the recording of Ambassador Hale's speech with an amused grin. Humans adapt. Humans strike back. Let's see how well they adapt to complete annihilation. He turned to his war council. Send one warship, just one. Let them know their place. The Drakir's finest battlecruiser, the Bloodfang, was chosen for the mission. It was a floating fortress of death, armed with plasma cannons, energy shields, and a cloaking device. It had crushed entire fleets in past wars. A single human colony would be their target. The Battle of Outpost Epsilon was about to begin. The Drakir's confidence, The Bloodfang arrived in the orbit of Epsilon Prime, a small but growing human colony on the edge of known space. The Drakir commander, Captain Vertok, sneered at the sight of the planet's weak defenses. "This will be over in minutes," he muttered. Their sensors detected a few human defense ships, small, outdated, and lightly armed. It was laughable. Vartok gave the order, "Destroy them." The Drakir cannons fired, and glowing bolts of energy shot toward the human fleet. One by one, the human ships exploded. The alien crew cheered. It was too easy. Vartok grinned. "Now, begin orbital bombardment of the colony." But then, something strange happened. The human ships were still there. Vartok's grin faded. What? His sensors showed the ships had exploded, but they weren't human ships. They were decoys. Then, without warning, real human warships decloaked all around them. A deep voice came over the comms. "You picked the wrong fight." Vartok barely had time to react before the first human missiles hit, the first true fight. The Bloodfang shook violently as explosions ripped through its hull. Alarms blared. The Drakir crew scrambled in confusion. "Where did these ships come from?" one officer shouted. The humans had lured them into a trap. They had let the Drakir think they were winning. Right before they struck back, Vartok clenched his fists. "Fine. We still outgunned them. Focus fire on their lead ship." The Bloodfang's cannons turned toward the largest human vessel and unleashed a full barrage. But something happened that no Drakir had ever seen before. The human ship dodged. Not just once, not just by a small margin. It moved in ways no warship should be able to move. "That's impossible," Vartok shouted. The human ship twisted, flipped, and rolled between enemy fire, evading everything. And then, it fired back. The Bloodfang's last moments. The Drakir warship was powerful, but it was designed to fight like a hammer, slow, heavy, and overwhelming. The human ships, they fought like wolves. They attacked in coordinated strikes, hitting weak points in the Bloodfang's armor. Every shot was precise. Every move was calculated. Within minutes, the mighty Drakir battlecruiser was on fire. Sparks flew. Explosions tore through its decks. The once mighty Bloodfang was falling apart. Vartok stared at the view screen, his mind unable to accept reality. This can't be happening. Then, a final transmission from the human commander came through. "You thought we were weak. That was your second mistake. There won't be a third." The last thing Vartok saw before his ship exploded was the sight of the human fleet, untouched, victorious, and terrifyingly calm. The galaxy reacts. News of the battle spread like wildfire. A single primitive human fleet had just destroyed one of the most feared warships in the galaxy. The Drakir Dominion was humiliated. The other empires began to wonder. What else had humanity been hiding? One thing was now clear. The joke was over. The real fight was about to begin. The destruction of the Bloodfang sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Drakir Dominion had boasted that the battle would last minutes. Instead, their mighty warship had been reduced to burning debris. A single human fleet had done what no species had ever managed before: humiliate the Drakir in open combat. And now, everyone was paying attention. The Council's emergency meeting. Inside the Galactic Council Hall, the atmosphere was tense. Representatives from the most powerful empires sat in silence, watching the battle recordings again and again. The humans shouldn't have won. They were a new species, barely past their first steps into interstellar travel. They weren't supposed to have weapons that advanced. Yet, the footage didn't lie. Lord Vexen, leader of the Zalkar, leaned forward, his golden eyes narrowed. That was not luck. Ambassador Rekthar of the Hive Cluster clicked his mandibles anxiously. Their warships moved like living things. That should not be possible. Not with their level of technology. A Varrock's representative grunted. And yet they did. They destroyed the Bloodfang. That means only one thing: silence. Then, General Cathar of the Xilari Empire spoke, his deep voice cutting through the tension. They've been hiding their true capabilities. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The humans had tricked the entire galaxy. For years, the Council had treated Earth like a primitive backwater, a joke among advanced civilizations. But now, the joke was becoming a nightmare. What do we do? A timid ambassador asked. Vexen's claws tapped against the table. His voice was cold. We end them now, before it's too late. A message to Earth. Hours later, the human ambassador, Richard Hale, stood in front of a holographic screen in Earth's United Defense Command. The Galactic Council had just sent an official ultimatum. Surrender. Join the Galactic Order under strict control, or face total annihilation. Hale read the message carefully. He didn't look surprised. He didn't even look worried. Instead, he turned to Admiral Carter, the Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces. They're scared, Hale said simply. Carter smirked. They should be. Hale walked toward the room's main console and tapped a button. A new message was about to be sent to the entire galaxy. The human response. All across the known galaxy, thousands of star systems received a new transmission. A single human figure appeared, Ambassador Hale. His expression was calm, but there was a steel-like certainty in his eyes. You have mocked us. You have underestimated us. And now you seek to control us out of fear. His voice remained steady. We will not surrender. We will not kneel. He leaned forward slightly, as if daring them to challenge him. You want to see what we are truly capable of. The screen flickered, revealing a hidden fleet, dozens of human warships, bigger and more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Their hulls were sleek, their weapons glowing with unknown energy signatures. Hale's voice carried the weight of history. Then come and find out. The countdown begins. The message ended. Across the galaxy, fear took root. Humanity had just declared war on the Galactic Council. And for the first time in history, the Council wasn't sure if they could win. The Galactic Council had faced countless wars before. They had crushed rebellions, destroyed empires, and silenced those who defied their rule. They believed this would be the same. They were wrong. The Grand Armada moves. Within days of humanity's defiance, the largest fleet in galactic history was assembled. Over 1,000 warships from different empires gathered near the human border, their combined firepower enough to wipe out entire civilizations. At the center of this armada stood the flagship of the Galactic Council, the Sovereign Dawn, a massive dreadnought with enough weapons to turn Earth into nothing but scattered atoms. Admiral Vekar, a ruthless strategist from the Xilari Empire, stood on the bridge of the Sovereign Dawn, watching the fleet prepare for war. They had their chance, he said coldly. Now we erase them from existence. The order was given. The Galactic Armada entered human space. They expected a short, easy campaign. Instead, they found something else, Earth's silent response. As the massive alien fleet advanced, they noticed something strange. No human ships came to meet them. No distress signals were sent. No planetary defenses were activated. Earth was silent. Admiral Vekar frowned. Where are they? His fleet reached the edge of the Sol system. Still, there was no sign of resistance. No enemy movement. It was unsettling. Then, the first sensor anomaly appeared. Admiral, we're detecting something, one of his officers said hesitantly. A structure. But it's not a station. It's enormous. The crew turned their eyes to the main screen. And then they saw it. The impossible structure. Floating in deep space, just beyond Pluto's orbit, was a colossal artificial construct. It was unlike anything seen before, a megastructure the size of a small moon. It had no markings, no visible weapons, no clear function. It was simply there. Vekar's eyes narrowed. What is that? Scanners tried to analyze it. They failed. Every sensor that touched the structure returned garbled data, as if the very laws of physics around it were being bent. A chilling thought crept into Vekar's mind. This is not primitive technology. This is something else. And then, without warning, it powered on. The trap springs shut. A single pulse of energy rippled outward from the megastructure. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The fleet remained in position, weapons ready. Then, the Sovereign Dawn's systems shut down. One by one, the warships of the Galactic Armada lost power. Engines failed. Shields collapsed. Targeting systems went dark. "Admiral, we're losing control." Panic spread through the fleet as entire battleships drifted helplessly in space. Then the humans arrived. Hundreds of human warships decloaked from behind the moons of Neptune and Saturn. But they didn't open fire. They simply watched. A single message came through, broadcast to every ship in the Galactic Armada. "You should have left us alone." And then, the megastation fired. The fleet falls. What happened next was unlike any battle in history. The massive energy wave erupted from the human structure, crashing into the Council's fleet. But it wasn't a weapon. It didn't destroy the ships. It warped reality itself. The laws of space and time twisted around the alien warships. Their engines were flung into the past, their shields into the future. Some ships were crushed into nothing. Others were frozen in an endless moment, never moving, never aging. Admiral Vekar watched in horror as his once invincible armada was reduced to chaos. This is impossible," he whispered. But the humans had already proven the impossible. The last thing he saw was the human fleet moving in, untouched, unharmed, and ready to finish what had been started. The galaxy had believed humanity was weak. Now, for the first time, they were truly afraid. Word of the battle spread fast. The invincible Galactic Armada had been shattered. Humanity had done the unthinkable. In countless alien worlds, leaders gathered in secret. They spoke in hushed voices, afraid of what humanity had become. The Council refused to accept the truth. They called the loss a freak accident. They claimed the humans had used trickery, not strength. But no one believed them. Admiral Vekar was still missing. His fleet was gone. Survivors whispered of ships vanishing into nothing, of time itself breaking apart. The Council ignored their warnings. They told the galaxy that humans would be crushed soon, that the war was far from over. But deep inside, they knew. They had made a mistake. In the dark corners of space, powerful factions began to move. Some saw humans as a threat that must be destroyed. Others saw an opportunity. Spies were sent to Earth. Offers of alliances and betrayals began to spread. Some empires wanted war. Others wanted to kneel before humanity before it was too late. And far beyond the Council's reach, a new enemy watched. Something older. Something more dangerous than any empire. It had ignored Earth before. But now, it had seen the battle. It had seen what humans could do. And it was interested. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Their greatest fleet had been destroyed. Their admirals were missing. Their threats meant nothing. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was at the center of it. For the first time in history, the most powerful empires were afraid. Some were preparing for war. Others were searching for ways to ally with Earth. But deep in the void, far beyond human space, something else was watching. Something the Council had feared for centuries. A meeting in the shadows. On a distant world, hidden beneath layers of secrecy, a council of a different kind gathered. They were not politicians. They were not warriors. They were something far worse, the keepers of silence. The keepers had existed long before the Council. Their duty was simple: to erase any species that threatened the balance of the galaxy. Humanity had just crossed the line. An ancient being, older than the stars, spoke first. We allowed them to grow because they were weak. We believed they would destroy themselves. A second voice, cold and mechanical, answered. They did not. They have become something dangerous, something unpredictable. The oldest among them, known only as the Watcher, leaned forward. We must act. Before they uncovered the truth, a silent agreement passed through the room. The keepers had decided. Humanity would not be allowed to exist. Earth's unlikely allies. Back on Earth, humanity had no idea what was coming. They were still celebrating their victory. The destruction of the Galactic Armada had changed everything. For the first time, alien diplomats arrived on Earth not to demand surrender, but to negotiate. Some empires now saw humans as potential rulers. Others wanted to serve them. The Drakir Dominion, once humanity's greatest enemy, sent an envoy with a shocking proposal. "We wish to fight by your side," the Drakir general admitted. His voice was filled with reluctance. "We now understand. You are not a species to be conquered. You are something else." It was a moment that no one could have predicted. But humanity wasn't interested in ruling. They weren't interested in alliances built on fear. They had only one goal: to survive. And that meant preparing for the next war. Because deep in the void, something was moving. Something humanity was not ready for. The galaxy had changed forever. The Galactic Council was broken. The once invincible Armada had been shattered. Empires that once mocked humanity now watched Earth in silence. Some sought alliances. Others planned in secret, hoping to destroy humans before they grew too powerful. But none of them knew the real threat was already coming. It had watched from the shadows for centuries. It had waited for the right moment. And now, with humanity rising, it had decided to act. The arrival of the unknown. It started as a whisper. Deep space stations picked up strange signals, not from any known empire, not from any race in the Council. At first, humanity thought it was static. Then they realized it was a language, something ancient, something watching. A warning was sent from a hidden alien faction. It contained only 3 words: "They are coming." And then, without warning, the first dark ship entered human space. The keepers reveal themselves. Massive, obsidian black warships emerged from the void. They did not match any known designs. Their surfaces absorbed all light, making them look like holes in reality itself. They did not broadcast messages. They did not ask for surrender. They simply moved. Human defenses were on high alert, but before anyone could react, Earth's satellites began shutting down. Advanced AI systems, ones humans thought were unhackable, failed instantly. The dark ships weren't attacking. They were studying. And then, for the first time, a message came through. It was not a request. It was not a demand. It was a verdict. Humanity was never meant to exist. This mistake will be corrected. The war that shouldn't have been possible. The first attack came without warning. Entire human outposts vanished. Warships disintegrated as if they had never existed. Weapons failed before they could be fired. The keepers were not just another enemy. They were beyond war. They erased civilizations like cleaning dust from a table. But they had made one mistake. They thought humanity would break like the others. Instead, humans adapted. Through sheer defiance, ingenuity, and madness, they fought back. They refused to be erased. They learned. And then they did something no species had ever done before. They turned the Keeper's own forbidden technology against them. The galaxy watches in fear. Across the galaxy, empires held their breath. They had once laughed at Earth. Now they trembled as humanity did the impossible again. They weren't just fighting back. They were winning. For the first time, the Keepers hesitated. Humanity was supposed to be a mistake, a flaw in the grand design, a species that never should have risen. And yet, here they were, defying gods themselves. The galaxy had once mocked Earth. Now, they had only one question. If the humans can defeat them, what will they become?